Do you remember the family meals that once filled kitchens with warmth and the smell of home-cooked comfort? Those classic Betty Crocker recipes, simple, hearty, and surprisingly clever, seemed to appear on every table decades ago. Somehow, these beloved dishes have faded into obscurity, tucked away in yellowed cookbooks and forgotten notes. Today, we're bringing back 30 old family favorites that deserve a second life on modern dinner tables. Tuna noodle casserole. Tuna noodle casserole was the unsung hero of countless mid-century dinner tables. The dish that could magically stretch a single can of tuna into a meal for the whole family. Born in the post-war years, when convenience foods were becoming household staples, it captured the essence of Betty Crocker cooking. Simple, affordable, and reliably satisfying. Housewives of the 1950s and 60s often leaned on pantry basics to get supper on the table fast, and this casserole delivered. A bag of egg noodles, a can of cream of mushroom soup, and a tin of tuna were all it took to make a hearty dinner. Though the truly ambitious might sprinkle on breadcrumbs or shredded cheese if they were feeling fancy, or if payday was near. The genius of tuna noodle casserole wasn't just in its thriftiness, but in its flexibility. Families could toss in leftover peas, diced celery, or even hard-boiled eggs to bulk it up. Some cooks even experimented with different canned soups, switching mushroom for celery or chicken, subtly changing the flavor without changing the ease of the dish. For many children, it was one of the first grown-up dishes they learned to love, a gateway to both the wonders of creamy sauces and the occasional surprise of a fishy bite. It also symbolized a shift in American cooking as canned goods and prepackaged ingredients became the norm. This was the future. No gutting fish, no making sauce from scratch, just open, mix, bake, and serve. There was also something deeply comforting about the bubbling casserole emerging from the oven, the creamy aroma filling the kitchen and signaling that the family would soon gather. It was a dish that made weeknights manageable, school nights less stressful, and dinner a predictable pleasure. Today, tuna noodle casserole might seem hopelessly retro, outshined by gourmet pasta bakes and meal kits promising farm-fresh ingredients. Yet, there's a reason this dish refuses to completely disappear. It speaks to a time when families gathered around the table night after night, when homemade didn't have to mean complicated, and when a bubbling Pyrex dish could be a small act of love. Sometimes the simplest meals are the ones that stay with us the longest. Chicken divan. Chicken divan was once the height of sophistication in mid-century American cooking, a dish that made broccoli glamorous and turned an ordinary weeknight into something just a little special. It first appeared on the menu of New York's Divan Parisian restaurant in the early 1900s, where it was considered a fine dining creation. By the 1950s, Betty Crocker and other cookbook giants had adapted the recipe for the home cook, making it accessible to the average suburban family armed with canned goods and a casserole dish. At its core, chicken divan is a creamy, cheesy chicken and broccoli bake. The original versions called for poached chicken breasts, fresh broccoli florets, and a decadent Mornay sauce made from scratch. But as the recipe filtered through church cookbooks and potluck tables, it evolved into a thrifty, practical staple. By the 1960s, most home cooks were swapping in canned cream of chicken or mushroom soup for the sauce and using frozen broccoli to save time. A scattering of breadcrumbs or crushed potato chips on top added the final flourish, giving it a touch of crunch and visual appeal. For many families, chicken divan was a company dish, reserved for Sunday dinners, holidays, or when the in-laws came over. It was hearty yet elegant, the kind of casserole that said, "I put in some effort," even if it secretly came together in 15 minutes flat. Children tolerated it, sometimes grudgingly, because everything tasted better under a blanket of cheese sauce. Today, chicken divin has been overshadowed by trendier chicken and broccoli recipes featuring air fryers, sheet pans, or paleo-friendly substitutions. But in its heyday, it was a symbol of aspirational cooking, proof that even humble ingredients could feel refined. It remains a nostalgic reminder that elegance doesn't always require extravagance, just a good recipe and a warm oven. Hamburger hot dish. Hamburger hot dish was the dependable weeknight warrior of mid-century kitchens, the kind of meal that could be thrown together quickly and still bring everyone to the table. In the Midwest, where this dish truly earned its stripes, hot dish was more than just a recipe. It was a way of life. Church potlucks, family reunions, and Tuesday night dinners all relied on these hearty casseroles that stretched a pound of ground beef into a feast for a crowd. Betty Crocker's cookbooks popularized this particular version, and before long, it was a staple in homes from Minnesota to Maine. The classic hamburger hot dish combined 3 key elements: ground beef, a starchy base like pasta or potatoes, and a creamy binder, usually a can of condensed soup. Cream of mushroom was the reigning champion, though cream of celery or tomato soup sometimes made an appearance. Frozen vegetables, most often peas or green beans, were tossed in for good measure. Everything was layered or mixed in a trusty Pyrex dish, topped with a crunchy crown of breadcrumbs or potato chips, then baked until bubbly and golden. It wasn't fancy, but that wasn't the point. It was dependable, filling, and affordable. Exactly what families needed during the post-war years of growth and transition. Kids loved it because it tasted familiar and comforting, while parents appreciated how far it could stretch the grocery budget. There was also room for creativity. Some cooks added cheese for richness. Others swapped noodles for rice. And a few brave souls even stirred in a splash of ketchup or Worcestershire sauce for extra flavor. Today, hamburger hot dish might feel quaint next to modern one-pot pastas or gourmet beef skillets, but it remains a nostalgic taste of community, practicality, and the simple magic of a meal shared at the family table. Tamale pie. Tamale pie is one of those dishes that sounds exotic, but is, at its heart, pure Americana. Despite the name, it's not a tamale at all, but rather a creative interpretation of Southwestern flavors filtered through the mid-century casserole craze. The dish gained popularity in the 1930s and 40s when home cooks were looking for thrifty, filling meals that could feed a family without breaking the budget. By the time Betty Crocker got hold of it in the 1950s, tamale pie had become a beloved weeknight staple across the country, especially in areas where traditional tamales were harder to come by. The beauty of tamale pie lies in its simplicity. At its core, it consists of a hearty layer of seasoned ground beef, sometimes bulked up with beans or extra vegetables, cooked with onions, tomatoes, and a touch of chili powder for a gentle kick. This savory base is then topped with a thick, golden layer of cornmeal batter or cornbread, creating a crust that bakes up fluffy on the inside and crisp at the edges. The result is a one-pan meal that delivers both comfort and convenience. Families could assemble it quickly, pop it into the oven, and know that a satisfying dinner would be ready in under an hour. In mid-century kitchens, Tamale pie was celebrated for its adaptability. Cooks could spice it up with green chilies or keep it mild for picky eaters. Leftovers reheated beautifully, making it ideal for busy families, and it often became a welcome addition to potlucks or community dinners. It also reflected a growing fascination with international cuisine, though filtered through the very American lens of canned goods and pantry staples. Today, tamale pie is often overshadowed by more authentic Mexican dishes or trendy fusion creations. Yet it remains a nostalgic reminder of a time when home cooks weren't afraid to experiment, blending flavors and traditions to create something uniquely their own. Simple, hearty, and endlessly customizable, tamale pie still has a place at the table, bringing back memories of cozy kitchens and meals shared with family. Its golden crust and savory filling are proof that comfort and practicality can exist in delicious harmony. 7-layer salad. 7-layer salad is one of those dishes that immediately transports you to a church basement potluck or a family reunion spread where long tables groaned under the weight of Pyrex dishes and Tupperware bowls. This salad wasn't just food, it was a centerpiece. Tall, glass-sided bowls were chosen on purpose so everyone could admire its neat, colorful stripes before digging in. It was as much a visual statement as a culinary one, a mid-century showstopper that proved you could be thrifty and glamorous at the same time. The dish rose to popularity in the 1950s and 60s, an era when convenience reigned and salads didn't always involve leafy greens. In fact, lettuce was just the starting point. A classic 7-layer salad began with a base of crisp iceberg, then added successive tiers of ingredients like peas, hard-boiled eggs, shredded cheese, bacon bits, and sometimes even chopped bell peppers or onions. The crowning glory was a thick layer of mayonnaise-based dressing spread across the top, sealing in the freshness like a retro version of plastic wrap. Just before serving, the whole thing was tossed together, or sometimes not, depending on family tradition. What made 7-layer salad special wasn't just its flavor, though it delivered plenty of that with its salty, creamy, crunchy combination. It was the way it brought people together. This was a dish built for sharing, easy to make in bulk, and endlessly adaptable depending on what was in the pantry or the garden. Today, 7-layer salad feels like a time capsule, a reminder of when presentation mattered and mayo wasn't a dirty word. While modern versions might swap Greek yogurt for mayonnaise or add trendy ingredients like avocado, the original remains a nostalgic classic that still earns a spot at the buffet table. Pickle dip spread. Pickle dip spread is one of those retro recipes that perfectly captures the ingenuity and sometimes the boldness of mid-century entertaining. In an era before artisanal cheeses and charcuterie boards dominated appetizer culture, home cooks relied on a few humble ingredients to create something that looked impressive and tasted even better. Pickle dip spread was simple, thrifty, and guaranteed to spark conversation at any party, whether it was a neighborhood card game, church social, or county fair potluck. At its core, the recipe relied on the surprising marriage of cream cheese and chopped pickles. The creamy, tangy base made the pickles' briny crunch sing, while a little dash of onion or garlic powder added subtle depth. Some cooks stirred in a spoonful of mayonnaise or sour cream to smooth the texture, but the heart of the dip remained steadfastly simple. Once mixed, it was shaped into a ball or mound and rolled in chopped nuts or paprika to give it a finished, festive look. Crackers, sliced bread, or fresh vegetables were the vehicles, inviting guests to dig in and marvel at how such basic ingredients could deliver such bold flavor. Pickle dip spread was more than just a snack. It was a conversation starter, a reflection of mid-century frugality and creativity, and a small act of domestic pride. It was often prepared ahead of time, making it ideal for busy hosts, and its tangy, savory flavor appealed to all ages. Families sometimes served it during holidays or casual gatherings, and children loved the playful contrast of creamy cheese and crunchy pickles. Making it required minimal time and effort, yet it offered maximum payoff at social events, embodying the practical ingenuity that defined on mid-century cooking. Today, it's largely forgotten, overshadowed by elaborate dips with exotic cheeses or kale-infused spreads. But those who rediscover it often find themselves charmed by its unapologetic simplicity. Pickle dip spread is a reminder that innovation in the kitchen doesn't always mean complexity. Sometimes, it's about taking what you have, making it taste extraordinary, and serving it with a little flair. Its enduring appeal lies in its balance of tang, creaminess, and crunch. A small but timeless testament to the resourcefulness and convivial spirit of a bygone era. Date nut bread with cream cheese. Filling. Date nut bread with cream cheese filling is a quintessential example of mid-century home baking, a recipe that evokes the warm, cozy atmosphere of kitchens where the scent of fresh bread could fill the entire house. Popularized in the 1940s and 50s through Betty Crocker cookbooks and community cookbooks, this loaf was both a practical use of pantry staples and a special treat that elevated everyday ingredients into something memorable. The combination of chopped dates and toasted nuts gave the bread a rich, textured sweetness, while the hidden cream cheese filling added a luscious surprise in every slice, delighting both children and adults alike. The recipe's appeal was in its simplicity and adaptability. Housewives could mix it up in a single bowl, pour it into a loaf pan, and let the oven do the work. Chopped walnuts or pecans provided crunch, while the dates contributed natural sweetness, reducing the need for excess sugar. The cream cheese filling, soft and slightly tangy, contrasted beautifully with the dense, tender bread, creating layers of flavor and texture that made each bite feel indulgent without being overly complicated. Often, a simple glaze or dusting of powdered sugar finished the loaf, turning it into a centerpiece for holiday gatherings, Sunday brunches, or church bake sales. Beyond its flavor, date nut bread with cream cheese filling carried emotional and social significance. It was often baked for neighbors, gifts, or shared at community events, a tangible expression of care and hospitality. Children learned to help fold in ingredients or sample the batter, creating lasting memories of family baking rituals. The bread also showcased mid-century ingenuity, turning humble ingredients into something luxurious and comforting. Today, while modern bakeries offer elaborate pastries and exotic flavor combinations, slicing into a warm loaf of date nut bread with cream cheese filling still brings that nostalgic aroma, evoking kitchens filled with laughter, storytelling, and the quiet joy of homemade traditions passed down through generations. It remains a testament to the timeless appeal of thoughtful, lovingly prepared baking. Cheese ball with nuts. The cheese ball with nuts is perhaps one of the most iconic symbols of 1970s entertaining, a dish that balanced elegance, whimsy, and practicality in a way few others could. It graced every holiday gathering, neighborhood potluck, and casual cocktail party, often displayed prominently on a platter surrounded by a halo of buttery crackers. It was the perfect conversation starter. Guests would admire its perfectly round shape, marvel at the variety of nuts rolled across its surface, and inevitably comment on how impressive it looked, before realizing that making it was simpler than it seemed. At its core, the recipe was straightforward. Cream cheese provided a smooth, tangy base, often mixed with shredded cheddar, garlic, or other seasonings to give it depth. Chopped nuts, walnuts, pecans, or almonds formed a crunchy exterior, both decorative and flavorful, while optional extras like chopped green peppers or pimentos could be tucked inside for color and subtle zing. The cheese ball was chilled to firm up, making it easy to prepare ahead of time, and could be shaped by hand or molded using bowls or plastic wrap. Beyond its taste and visual appeal, the cheese ball with nuts embodied the ethos of mid-century American entertaining. Resourceful, frugal, yet clever enough to make the host feel accomplished. It could stretch a small amount of cheese into a party-ready dish that felt special and intentional, demonstrating both hospitality and flair. Today, the cheese ball is often regarded as a kitschy relic, overshadowed by elaborate charcuterie boards and Instagram-ready dips. Yet for those who remember or rediscover, it carries a potent nostalgia. It speaks of a time when parties were intimate, when food was both practical and playful, and when a simple, well-made dish could steal the show. The cheese ball with nuts remains a charming reminder that presentation, creativity, and a touch of flair never go out of style. Congealed salad, Jell-O salad. Congealed salad, more commonly known as Jell-O salad, is one of those mid-century creations that perfectly captures the optimism and creativity of American home cooks in the 1950s and 60s. At a glance, it might seem peculiar to modernize gelatin mixed with fruit, vegetables, or even mayonnaise. But at the time, it was considered the height of ingenuity. With busy households seeking quick, impressive dishes, Jell-O salad offered a way to transform simple pantry staples into something visually striking and socially impressive. The charm of congealed salad lay in its versatility. Sweet versions often incorporated canned fruits like pineapple or mandarin oranges, folded into bright, flavored gelatin that set into translucent layers. Savory varieties might include chopped vegetables, hard-boiled eggs, or even bits of seafood, bound together with a gelatin or mayonnaise mixture. The signature presentation in a molded dish or clear glass bowl made it a centerpiece of any potluck or holiday table, showing off its colorful layers to guests before it was carefully sliced and served. Beyond the aesthetic appeal, Jell-O salad represented efficiency and practicality. It could be prepared hours or even a day before a gathering, freeing the cook to focus on other dishes. Its portability and easy portioning made it perfect for church socials, office lunches, and family picnics. Children were often delighted by the wiggly texture and sweet taste, while adults appreciated the novelty and elegance of a dish that required minimal skill but made a strong visual statement. Today, congealed salad is largely relegated to the realm of retro kitsch, often laughed at or dismissed in the age of smoothie bowls and Instagram-worthy desserts. Yet it remains a nostalgic emblem of a bygone era, a testament to American resourcefulness, creativity, and the simple joy of transforming humble ingredients into something unexpected and memorable. Victory Garden Vegetable Stew. Victory Garden Vegetable Stew is a culinary time capsule, rooted in an era when frugality and self-sufficiency were not just virtues but necessities. During World War II, Americans were encouraged to plant victory gardens to supplement their rations, and this simple, hearty stew was a natural extension of that movement. Home cooks relied on what they could grow in their backyards: carrots, potatoes, beans, peas, and whatever else was in season, and transformed these modest ingredients into a filling, comforting meal that nourished both body and spirit. The stew's beauty lay in its simplicity. Chopped vegetables simmered in water or a light broth, seasoned with salt, pepper, and perhaps a touch of herbs, until they released their natural flavors and melded together in a gentle, aromatic harmony. No meat was required, though leftovers or small bits of poultry could be added if available. Some cooks incorporated garden herbs like parsley or thyme for extra depth, or a splash of cream or butter if rationing allowed. The focus was on maximizing flavor from minimal ingredients, stretching every morsel to feed a family in uncertain times. A slice of homemade bread or a dollop of butter often accompanied the bowl, rounding out a meal that was humble yet satisfying. Victory Garden vegetable stew also carried an emotional resonance. It represented resilience, resourcefulness, and the communal spirit of wartime America. Families who grew and cooked their own food took pride in the effort, and the stew became a daily reminder of their ability to make do and even thrive under constraint. It wasn't glamorous, but it was reliable, nourishing, and deeply comforting. A reminder that good food didn't always require expense or extravagance. Today, this stew may seem modest compared to the flashy, global-inspired recipes of modern cookbooks, but it remains a poignant emblem of ingenuity and endurance. Each simmered carrot, tender potato, and soft bean carries the story of wartime kitchens, garden bounty, and shared labor. It is a dish that teaches patience, gratitude, and the joy of simple, seasonal ingredients, reminding us that even the humblest meals can nourish the body and spirit alike. Its enduring charm lies in its honesty, warmth, and timeless connection to community, home, and history. Cabbage and noodle bake. Cabbage and noodle bake is a dish that carries more than flavor. It carries history, thrift, and the quiet ingenuity of mid-century home cooking. Emerging from a time when families needed to stretch every ingredient and make humble vegetables feel substantial, this casserole became a staple in kitchens across America. It was particularly popular in the Midwest, where cabbage was abundant and affordable, and noodles were a pantry mainstay that could turn a few vegetables into a hearty family meal. The preparation was straightforward, but effective. Cabbage was shredded and lightly sautéed or boiled to soften its fibrous texture, then combined with cooked egg noodles and a simple binder. Often a mixture of cream, sour cream, or a can of condensed soup. Seasonings were modest: a pinch of salt, a dusting of pepper, and sometimes a touch of onion or garlic for depth. The mixture was poured into a casserole dish, occasionally topped with buttered breadcrumbs for a bit of crunch, and baked until golden and bubbling. The result was a comforting, warming dish with a tender, creamy consistency that made even the simplest ingredients feel indulgent. For many families, cabbage and noodle bake was more than sustenance. It was a ritual of togetherness. Plates heaped with the casserole would be passed around the table, stories exchanged, and side dishes shared. It was the kind of meal that encouraged conversation, laughter, and the feeling of home. Today, this humble bake may seem modest compared to Instagram-worthy pasta dishes or gourmet vegetable casseroles, yet it endures as a symbol of frugality, creativity, and family-centered cooking. Cabbage and noodle bake reminds us that resourcefulness can be delicious, that inexpensive ingredients can nourish body and soul, and that some of the most enduring recipes are those that quietly bring people together, generation after generation. Mock apple pie, made with crackers. Mock apple pie, made with crackers instead of fruit, is a testament to the creativity and resourcefulness of home cooks during the Great Depression and wartime America. When fresh apples were scarce or too expensive, inventive cooks turned to what they had on hand, saltine or soda crackers, to mimic the texture and sweetness of a traditional apple pie. The result was surprisingly convincing. A golden, bubbling dessert that smelled like a classic pie and delivered a sweet, tender filling without ever touching a single apple. The magic of mock apple pie lies in its clever use of simple pantry staples. Crushed crackers were combined with sugar, water, and a touch of cinnamon, often with lemon juice or a bit of cream to enhance flavor and create the illusion of fruit. Rolled into a pastry crust and baked, the crackers absorbed the liquid and sugar, swelling into soft, delicate layers that resembled baked apple slices. The topping, whether a traditional pastry lid or a lattice, provided that familiar, comforting crunch, completing the transformation from humble ingredients to a dish that felt indulgent and celebratory. Mock apple pie was more than just a clever trick. It was a symbol of resilience and ingenuity. Families who faced financial hardship or rationing could still enjoy a dessert that felt special, showing that a little imagination could turn scarcity into satisfaction. It was often served at holidays, church socials, or Sunday dinners, delighting children and adults alike with its sweet flavor and the comforting familiarity of pie. Though largely forgotten today, replaced by fruit-filled variations and gourmet reinterpretations, mock apple pie remains a fascinating piece of culinary history. It reminds us that great cooking doesn't always depend on abundance, but on creativity, adaptability, and the ability to make something extraordinary out of the simplest ingredients. It is, in every sense, a delicious example of making do and making it memorable. Peanut butter meatloaf. Peanut butter meatloaf may sound unusual to modern ears, but it was a surprisingly practical and inventive dish that emerged from the resourceful kitchens of mid-century America. During the 1930s and 40s, when frugality was a necessity, home cooks learned to stretch small amounts of meat and make meals both hearty and flavorful. Peanut butter, inexpensive and protein-rich, became a clever addition to ground beef, helping to bind the loaf while adding moisture and a subtle, nutty sweetness. What might seem unconventional today was simply a reflection of the era's culinary creativity, turning pantry staples into satisfying, family-friendly dinners. The preparation was straightforward yet flexible. Ground beef, often mixed with onions, breadcrumbs, or crackers, formed the base. A few spoonfuls of peanut butter were incorporated into the mixture, sometimes complemented by a splash of milk or an egg to enhance texture. Seasonings like salt, pepper, and a touch of Worcestershire sauce rounded out the flavor. The loaf was shaped, baked, and occasionally topped with a tangy tomato-based glaze or ketchup for a shiny, appetizing finish. The peanut butter melted into the meat, keeping it moist, tender, and surprisingly flavorful without overwhelming the other ingredients. Some families even experimented with adding chopped vegetables or a dash of mustard to elevate the flavor profile while staying economical. Peanut butter meatloaf exemplified the mid-century focus on practicality and economy, yet it also carried an emotional resonance. It was a meal that fed families through lean times, bringing warmth and sustenance to the dinner table. Children often enjoyed the slightly sweet undertone, while parents appreciated how far a small portion of meat could go. Beyond its nutritional and economic value, the dish reflected the ingenuity and boldness of mid-century home cooks, who weren't afraid to combine flavors in unconventional ways to please the whole family. Today, peanut butter meatloaf may feel like a quirky relic, overshadowed by modern comfort foods or gourmet interpretations of classic meatloaf. Yet it remains a fascinating example of kitchen creativity, a testament to the idea that even humble ingredients, approached with imagination, can result in something comforting, satisfying, and memorable for generations. Cornmeal mush with milk or syrup. Cornmeal mush with milk or syrup is a humble breakfast that tells a story of frugality, tradition, and enduring simplicity. Popular in American kitchens from the 19th century through the mid-20th century, it was a staple for families seeking a filling, inexpensive morning meal. Cornmeal, a pantry mainstay, provided sustenance, while milk or syrup transformed it into a comforting dish that could be both nourishing and slightly indulgent. In many households, it was not just food but a ritual, a gentle start to the day that required minimal ingredients yet delivered warmth and satisfaction. The preparation was straightforward. Cornmeal was cooked slowly in water or milk until it thickened into a soft, creamy consistency. Once set, it could be sliced or served directly from the pot, then topped with warm milk, a pat of butter, or a drizzle of sweet syrup. Some cooks added a pinch of salt or sugar to enhance flavor, while others experimented with cinnamon or nutmeg for a touch of warmth. Its simplicity made it versatile, and its hearty texture kept families full through busy mornings. Cornmeal mush was more than just practical. It carried emotional resonance, especially in rural and working-class households. It reflected a time when meals were made from scratch with what was available, emphasizing resourcefulness and the comforting rhythm of home-cooked food. Children grew up with the mild, creamy taste as a breakfast staple, often recalling it with nostalgia decades later. Today, cornmeal mush may seem quaint, overshadowed by cereal, oatmeal, and trendy breakfast options, yet it endures in pockets of traditional cooking and among enthusiasts of heritage recipes. It remains a reminder that simplicity can be satisfying, that humble ingredients can nourish, and that a dish need not be elaborate to be memorable and deeply comforting. Sloppy Joe's original Betty Crocker version. Sloppy Joe's, in their original Betty Crocker incarnation, are the quintessential comfort food of mid-century American kitchens. Emerging in the post-war years when convenience and speed were becoming essential for busy households, they offered an easy way to turn ground beef into a messy, flavorful, and utterly satisfying meal. The appeal was immediate: inexpensive ingredients, minimal preparation, and a taste that could please both kids and adults alike. In many households, Sloppy Joe's became a weekly ritual, a quick solution for feeding hungry families without sacrificing flavor or warmth. The original recipe was simple yet ingenious. Ground beef was browned and mixed with a tangy tomato-based sauce, sweetened lightly with ketchup, and balanced with a touch of Worcestershire sauce or mustard. The mixture was simmered until thick and rich, then spooned generously onto soft hamburger buns. While the name hinted at the inevitable mess, it was part of the charm, encouraging everyone to dig in with gusto, napkins at the ready. Optional additions like chopped onions or green peppers could be stirred in for extra texture and flavor, but the essence remained the same: a hearty, saucy, satisfying sandwich that could stretch a pound of meat across a family table. Beyond the practical benefits, Sloppy Joe's held emotional resonance. They were a nostalgic emblem of childhood lunches, casual family dinners, and the joy of a meal that required little fuss but delivered comfort in spades. They reflected the ingenuity of mid-century home cooks who embraced pantry staples and transformed them into something greater than the sum of their parts. Today, sloppy joes may seem quaint next to gourmet sandwiches and artisanal burgers, yet they endure as a symbol of approachable, no-fuss home cooking. In every bite, there is nostalgia, warmth, and a reminder that sometimes the simplest recipes are the ones that feed not just the body, but the heart as well. Porcupine meatballs. Porcupine meatballs are a quirky yet charming relic of mid-century American home cooking. A dish that combined economy, ingenuity, and a touch of whimsy. Popularized in the 1950s and 60s through Betty Crocker cookbooks and community recipes, these meatballs earned their spiky name from the rice grains that poke through the browned exterior like tiny porcupine quills. They were a practical way to stretch ground beef, turning a modest pound of meat into a filling, family-friendly meal. The preparation was surprisingly simple. Ground beef was mixed with uncooked rice and egg for binding, and seasonings like salt, pepper, and a pinch of onion. Each meatball was carefully shaped and then simmered in a savory tomato sauce that allowed the rice to cook fully, swelling and softening inside the meat. Some home cooks added a splash of Worcestershire sauce, a dash of mustard, or finely chopped vegetables to add extra depth and nutrition. The result was tender, flavorful spheres of beef studded with rice, coated in a tangy sauce that could be served over noodles, mashed potatoes, or even more rice. The name might have elicited giggles from children, but the flavor kept everyone coming back for seconds. Porcupine meatballs reflected the practical ingenuity of mid-century home cooks who were adept at making one ingredient go further without sacrificing taste. They were ideal for busy families, church potlucks, or community dinners, offering a comforting, affordable, and visually playful dish that delighted both children and adults. Today, porcupine meatballs might feel like a curious throwback, overshadowed by gourmet meatball recipes or international takes on the classic dish. Yet they remain a nostalgic reminder of a time when cooking was about creativity, resourcefulness, and feeding families with care and imagination. Each tender, rice-studded meatball carries a story of frugality, homey comfort, and the simple joy of turning humble ingredients into something memorable, a testament to the heart and practicality of mid-century kitchens. Ham and potato scallop bake. Ham and potato scallop bake is a quintessential example of mid-century frugality and comfort, a dish that could transform leftovers into a hearty, satisfying family meal. Emerging in the post-war era, when suburban kitchens were experimenting with convenience foods like canned soups and pre-cooked meats, this casserole became a staple for households seeking simplicity without sacrificing flavor. It perfectly embodies the ethos of Betty Crocker-style cooking: practical, filling, and deceptively easy to prepare. At its core, the dish is a layered combination of thinly sliced potatoes, chopped or diced ham, and a creamy sauce, often made from condensed cream of mushroom or cream of chicken soup. Each layer was seasoned lightly with salt and pepper, sometimes enhanced with onions, or a sprinkle of cheese for added richness. The layers were baked slowly until the potatoes were tender, the sauce bubbling, and the top golden and slightly crisp. The result was a comforting, cohesive dish where each bite offered a balance of savory ham, soft potatoes, and creamy, flavorful sauce. Ham and potato scallop bake was more than a convenient meal. It carried emotional resonance. Many families relied on it to stretch holiday ham into multiple dinners or to make a modest amount of meat feed a growing household. It appeared on weeknight tables and at potlucks alike, providing warmth, sustenance, and a sense of home. Its simplicity allowed cooks to prepare it ahead of time, freeing them for other tasks while still delivering a hearty, satisfying meal. Today, ham and potato scallop bake may seem quaint compared to contemporary casseroles or gourmet potato dishes, but it remains a nostalgic symbol of resourcefulness and comfort. It reminds us that a few humble ingredients, baked together with care, can nourish not just the body but the heart, making everyday meals feel both practical and lovingly homemade. Chipped beef on toast, SOS. Chipped beef on toast, colloquially known as SOS, is a dish that carries both historical weight and mid-century practicality. Originally a staple in U.S. military kitchens during World War II, it made its way into American households as a quick, inexpensive, and filling meal. The acronym SOS was rumored to stand for SHT on a shingle, a wry nod to the dish's appearance, but for families at home, it was simply comfort food, creamy, savory, and endlessly satisfying. The dish is surprisingly simple in its construction. Dried or canned chipped beef is chopped into bite-sized pieces and simmered in a rich, creamy white sauce, often made from butter, flour, and milk. The salty, slightly tangy beef melds with the sauce to create a flavorful topping, which is spooned generously over slices of buttered toast. The creamy consistency and the salty, meaty flavor made it perfect for stretching a modest amount of protein into a meal that could feed a hungry family while its minimal ingredients kept it economical. Some variations included a dash of pepper, mustard, or Worcestershire sauce to enhance the flavor, but the essence of the dish remained the same: straightforward, comforting, and hearty. Some home cooks added chopped onions or a sprinkling of paprika for extra flavor, while others served it alongside a simple salad or vegetables to round out the meal. Chipped beef on toast carried more than flavor. It represented practicality and resilience. It was a dish that could be prepared quickly for a weekday dinner, served for breakfast in some households, or even packed into lunch boxes for school. Children often grew up on it, learning to appreciate the creamy, savory simplicity of the dish. Today, SOS is largely a nostalgic relic, overshadowed by modern breakfasts, open-faced sandwiches, and gourmet comfort foods. Yet it remains an enduring symbol of mid-century resourcefulness, a reminder that simple, inexpensive ingredients, when combined thoughtfully, could nourish both body and soul, keep families fed in times of necessity, and even bring a little comfort to otherwise busy, chaotic kitchens. Its legacy lives on in the stories and memories of the households that once relied on this humble, creamy, savory staple. Hot dog casserole. Hot dog casserole is a nostalgic emblem of mid-century American weeknight dinners, a dish that embodies frugality, creativity, and the comforting simplicity of home cooking. Popularized in the 1950s and 60s through community cookbooks and Betty Crocker recipes, it turned humble hot dogs into a hearty, filling meal that could satisfy the entire family. In an era when convenience foods were gaining popularity and parents were juggling busy households, this casserole offered a solution. Inexpensive, easy to prepare, and universally appealing, especially to children. The basic preparation was straightforward yet clever. Sliced or chopped hot dogs were combined with cooked pasta, canned vegetables, or even diced potatoes, then bound together with a creamy sauce, often made from condensed soup, a splash of milk, or a bit of butter. The mixture was transferred to a casserole dish, topped with a sprinkling of shredded cheese or breadcrumbs, and baked until bubbly and golden. Some families added a dash of mustard, ketchup, or Worcestershire sauce for extra flavor, while others stirred in frozen peas, corn, or bell peppers for color and nutrition. The result was a savory, comforting dish with a pleasing mix of textures: tender pasta, soft vegetables, and slightly crisped cheese topping. For picky eaters, it disguised vegetables in a creamy sauce while keeping the familiar taste of hot dogs front and center. Hot dog casserole was more than just a practical meal. It carried emotional resonance as well. Families could prepare it quickly after a busy day, feeding hungry children with minimal effort while still creating a sense of warmth and togetherness around the dinner table. It reflected the ingenuity of mid-century cooks who stretched modest ingredients into meals that were both satisfying and fun. Today, hot dog casserole may seem quaint next to gourmet pastas or creative modern casseroles, yet it endures as a nostalgic reminder of a time when cooking was about resourcefulness, simplicity, and feeding families with care. Its enduring charm lies not only in its comforting flavors, but also in the memories of shared laughter, hurried evenings, and homes filled with the aroma of a simple, beloved dinner. Chop suey casserole. Chop suey casserole is a perfect example of mid-century American ingenuity, a dish that brought the allure of exotic flavors into the familiar comfort of the suburban kitchen. In the 1950s and 60s, American cooks were fascinated by Chinese-inspired dishes, but access to fresh ingredients like bean sprouts, water chestnuts, or bamboo shoots was limited in most grocery stores. Chop suey casserole offered a solution: a hearty, flavorful dish that mimicked the exotic appeal of chop suey while relying on pantry staples and accessible ingredients. It became a staple for family dinners, potlucks, and community gatherings, appealing to both adults and children with its mix of textures and flavors. At its core, the casserole combined cooked meat, often ground beef, chicken, or pork, with canned or frozen vegetables like mushrooms, celery, and peas. A simple sauce, usually made from a mixture of soy sauce, water, and a thickener like flour or cornstarch, brought the ingredients together in a glossy, savory coating. The mixture was then poured over cooked rice or noodles, placed in a casserole dish, and baked until hot and bubbly. Some recipes added a crunchy topping of crushed crackers or fried noodles to give the dish texture and visual appeal. Chop suey casserole reflected the resourcefulness of home cooks, who were eager to experiment with global flavors while working within the limitations of local ingredients and modest budgets. It was comforting, flexible, and easy to prepare, making it ideal for busy families. Today, chop suey casserole may seem quaint, overshadowed by authentic stir-fries or fusion dishes, yet it remains a nostalgic reminder of a time when home cooks creatively bridged culinary worlds. It captures the spirit of mid-century cooking, practical, inventive, and designed to feed the family while sparking curiosity and delight at the dinner table. Swedish meatballs. Swedish meatballs are a classic example of mid-century American interpretations of international cuisine, a dish that found a permanent place on family tables thanks to its comforting flavor and approachable ingredients. Popularized in the 1950s and 60s through cookbooks and community recipe exchanges, these meatballs transformed humble ground beef or pork into tender, flavorful morsels coated in a creamy sauce that delighted children and adults alike. While inspired by traditional Swedish cooking, the American version often relied on pantry staples, making it practical, affordable, and ideal for busy households. The preparation of Swedish meatballs was straightforward but yielded rich results. Ground meat was combined with breadcrumbs, eggs, and seasonings like salt, pepper, and onion, then shaped into small, uniform spheres. These meatballs were lightly browned in a skillet to develop flavor and then simmered in a creamy sauce, typically made from milk, flour, and a touch of butter, with some recipes adding a hint of Worcestershire sauce for depth. The sauce coated each meatball luxuriously, turning the simple ingredients into a dish that felt both indulgent and satisfying. Often served over noodles, rice, or mashed potatoes, Swedish meatballs created a hearty, balanced meal that could easily feed a family on a modest budget. Beyond the flavor, Swedish meatballs carried emotional and cultural resonance. They were often reserved for family dinners or special occasions, a dish that offered both comfort and a touch of sophistication in an accessible form. Some home cooks added small tweaks like a pinch of nutmeg or allspice in the meat mixture, or a dash of parsley over the finished dish, giving the classic recipe a personalized touch. Children loved the tender, creamy combination, while adults appreciated how a few basic ingredients could produce a dish that felt special. The dish also became a way for families to explore foreign flavors in an approachable way, bridging curiosity and practicality in one pan. Today, Swedish meatballs remain beloved, though contemporary versions might incorporate fresh herbs, gourmet sauces, or international twists. The classic recipe endures as a nostalgic reminder of mid-century ingenuity, showing that practical, simple cooking can still create meals that warm the heart, delight the palate, and bring families together around the dinner table. Its enduring appeal lies not just in taste, but in its ability to evoke memories of home, care, and shared comfort. Chicken chow mein, canned veggie style. Chicken chow mein, especially the canned veggie version, is a quintessential example of mid-century American home cooking, reflecting the era's fascination with international flavors filtered through convenience and practicality. In the 1950s and 60s, American households were increasingly embracing canned goods, frozen vegetables, and quick cooking staples. And chicken chow mein offered the allure of Chinese cuisine without requiring specialty ingredients or advanced cooking skills. It became a go-to weeknight dinner, blending familiarity with a hint of the exotic and appealing to children and adults alike. The recipe was simple yet effective. Cooked chicken, often leftover or pre-cooked, was chopped into bite-sized pieces and combined with canned vegetables such as sliced mushrooms, bamboo shoots, water chestnuts, and sometimes peas or bell peppers. The dish was tied together with a sauce made from soy sauce, chicken broth, and a thickening agent like cornstarch, creating a glossy coating that enveloped the meat and vegetables. Pre-cooked noodles or rice served as the base, absorbing the savory flavors and rounding out the meal. Sometimes, a sprinkle of sesame seeds or a dash of ginger added a touch of flair, though most versions relied on pantry staples for both flavor and convenience. Chicken chow mein was more than just a practical dinner. It carried emotional resonance. It brought a sense of culinary adventure to the dinner table without intimidating home cooks, offering families a flavorful, filling meal that could be prepared quickly after work or school. It also reflected the ingenuity of mid-century cooks, who embraced the convenience of canned goods while experimenting with international cuisines, making them accessible to everyday households. Today, chicken chow mein may feel quaint next to fresh stir-fries or restaurant-style interpretations, but it remains a nostalgic reminder of a time when resourcefulness, simplicity, and a dash of imagination could transform humble ingredients into a meal that was both comforting and culturally curious. Tamale loaf. Tamale loaf is a classic mid-century American casserole that cleverly adapted the flavors of traditional tamales into a simple, home-friendly dish. Emerging in the 1940s and 50s, it became a favorite in households across the country, especially in regions where fresh tamales were harder to come by, or where busy families sought an easy, budget-conscious weeknight meal. The dish reflects the ingenuity of mid-century cooks, who often relied on pantry staples and ground meats to recreate international flavors in an approachable, casserole-friendly format. At its core, tamale loaf combined seasoned ground beef or pork with a tomato-based sauce, sometimes enriched with a bit of chili powder, cumin, or paprika to mimic the southwestern spice profile. Cornmeal or masa harina was blended into the mixture or layered on top, creating a slightly sweet, tender crust that held the savory filling together during baking. Some recipes incorporated vegetables like bell peppers or onions for extra flavor and texture, while a sprinkling of shredded cheese on top added richness and visual appeal. Baked until hot and lightly golden, tamale loaf emerged as a hearty, all-in-one meal that could feed a family with minimal effort and maximum satisfaction. Beyond its practicality, tamale loaf carried emotional and cultural resonance. It was a dish that families could make together, share at potlucks, or enjoy as leftovers, proving that modest ingredients could produce something both comforting and flavorful. Children were often delighted by its soft texture and mild, savory taste, while parents appreciated its ability to stretch small amounts of meat across the dinner table. Today, tamale loaf may seem quaint alongside fresh tamales or modern southwestern casseroles, but it remains a nostalgic emblem of mid-century resourcefulness. It reminds us that inventive cooking, frugality, and a touch of cultural curiosity can turn simple pantry staples into a memorable, comforting meal that warms both body and heart. Spaghetti pie. Spaghetti pie is a quintessential example of mid-century American comfort cooking, a dish that transformed everyday pantry staples into a hearty, satisfying meal for the whole family. Popularized in the 1950s and 60s through Betty Crocker cookbooks and community recipe exchanges, it combined the Italian-American love of pasta with the convenience and creativity that defined suburban kitchens of the era. The dish offered an affordable, filling, and crowd-pleasing option that could turn leftover spaghetti or a simple box of noodles into something special. At its heart, spaghetti pie was simple yet versatile. Cooked spaghetti was mixed with eggs, cheese, and sometimes a bit of milk or cream to bind the strands together, creating a firm, sliceable base. A savory meat sauce, often made from ground beef, onions, and canned tomatoes, was layered over or incorporated into the pasta, with additional cheese sprinkled on top for richness. The casserole was baked until the edges were golden and the center set, producing a cohesive, flavorful dish that could be cut into wedges like a traditional pie. Some families added vegetables such as peas or bell peppers for color and nutrition, while others kept it purely meaty and cheesy for maximum indulgence. Spaghetti pie carried more than flavor. It represented practicality and creativity in the kitchen. It was an economical way to feed a family, stretch leftovers, and prepare a meal that looked impressive despite its simple ingredients. Children adored its cheesy, comforting texture, while parents appreciated the minimal effort required to assemble it and the way it brought everyone to the table. Today, spaghetti pie may seem retro compared to modern pasta bakes or restaurant-style lasagnas, but it endures as a nostalgic reminder of mid-century ingenuity. It is a dish that celebrates resourcefulness, comfort, and the timeless joy of turning humble ingredients into a meal that warms both the stomach and the heart. Oatmeal cake with broiled coconut topping. Oatmeal cake with broiled coconut topping is a delightful relic of mid-century American baking, a dessert that combined wholesome ingredients with a touch of showmanship. Popularized in the 1940s and 50s, it reflected the era's fascination with simple, frugal baking while still allowing home cooks to create something visually appealing and indulgent. Oatmeal provided substance and heartiness, while the broiled coconut topping added sweetness, texture, and a golden finish that made the cake feel special enough for holidays, potlucks, or Sunday dinners. The cake itself was straightforward to prepare. Rolled oats were mixed with flour, sugar, eggs, and a hint of cinnamon or nutmeg, creating a moist, tender crumb with a subtly nutty flavor. Milk or a splash of cream often helped keep the texture soft and satisfying. Once baked in a simple rectangular or round pan, the cake was topped with a layer of sweetened, shredded coconut, sometimes brushed with butter to encourage browning. Placing it under the broiler briefly transformed the topping into a lightly toasted, fragrant crown that contrasted beautifully with the soft, oatmeal-laden base. Some home bakers added chopped nuts to the topping or a drizzle of glaze to elevate the presentation further. The result was a cake that was both comforting and elegant, modest yet capable of impressing guests. Oatmeal cake with broiled coconut topping carried more than flavor. It represented the ingenuity of home cooks who worked within limited resources to create memorable desserts. It was adaptable, easy to prepare in advance, and perfect for sharing, making it a favorite at family gatherings, church socials, and community bake sales. Its lightly toasted aroma often filled kitchens with warmth, signaling care and hospitality. Today, this cake may feel nostalgic in an age of elaborate layer cakes and Instagram-ready desserts, but it endures as a reminder of mid-century baking ingenuity. Its combination of wholesome oats and sweet golden coconut captures a balance of practicality and delight, showing that simple ingredients, when handled with care, can produce a dessert that warms both the heart and the palate, proving that sometimes less truly is more. Pineapple upside-down cake. Pineapple upside-down cake is an iconic symbol of mid-century American baking, a dessert that embodies both simplicity and showmanship. Rising to popularity in the 1940s and 50s, it became a staple in suburban kitchens, prized for its visual appeal, affordability, and the comforting combination of sweet pineapple and buttery cake. Canned pineapple, widely available and inexpensive, made this dessert accessible to families everywhere, while maraschino cherries or brown sugar added a pop of color and a hint of indulgence. The preparation was deceptively simple. Sliced pineapple rings, often accompanied by a cherry in the center of each slice, were arranged in a greased cake pan and sprinkled with brown sugar and butter, which caramelized as the cake baked. A basic yellow cake batter, made from flour, sugar, eggs, and a touch of vanilla, was poured over the fruit, encasing it in a soft, tender crumb. Baking transformed the pan into a fragrant, golden confection, with the sugars and butter melding into a glossy, sticky glaze that seeped into the cake for added moisture and sweetness. Once inverted, the fruit formed a stunning crown, turning a modest cake into a centerpiece-worthy dessert. Pineapple upside-down cake carried more than flavor. It was a celebration of ingenuity and presentation. It allowed home cooks to create a visually impressive dish without complex techniques or expensive ingredients. A perfect combination of thrift and elegance. Families served it at holidays, potlucks, and Sunday dinners, delighting children with the bright fruit and adults with its comforting, buttery sweetness. Today, while culinary trends have shifted toward more elaborate desserts, pineapple upside-down cake endures as a nostalgic reminder of mid-century creativity and resourcefulness. It celebrates the joy of transforming simple pantry staples into something memorable. A dessert that warms both the heart and the table with its charm, sweetness, and effortless elegance. Coffee cake ring. Coffee cake ring is a quintessential mid-century American breakfast or brunch treat, a dish that combines visual appeal with comforting flavor. Popularized in the 1950s and 60s, it became a favorite for family gatherings, church socials, and potlucks, offering a simple yet impressive way to serve a sweet, coffee-friendly baked good. Its circular shape, often baked in a bundt or tube pan, made it ideal for slicing and sharing, while its tender crumb and cinnamon sugar swirls ensured it delighted both children and adults alike. The preparation of coffee cake ring was straightforward, yet it allowed for plenty of creativity. A basic batter of flour, sugar, eggs, and butter provided a soft, moist base. Many recipes included sour cream or milk to enhance the cake's richness and tenderness. A cinnamon sugar filling was often layered in or swirled through the batter, giving the cake its signature flavor and aromatic appeal. Some variations added chopped nuts or raisins for texture and sweetness. Once baked, the ring could be topped with a simple glaze or powdered sugar, though many cooks relied on the visual charm of the swirled interior to speak for itself. Coffee cake ring was more than just a treat. It represented mid-century ingenuity in the kitchen, combining ease, thrift, and presentation. Its circular form made it festive without fuss, while the flavors were familiar and comforting, perfect for morning coffee, tea, or casual gatherings. Families appreciated its versatility, as it could be served warm or at room temperature, and leftovers held up well for a few days. Today, coffee cake ring remains a nostalgic reminder of a bygone era of American home baking. It celebrates simplicity, resourcefulness, and the joy of sharing a lovingly prepared treat. Each slice carries the warmth of mid-century kitchens, where practicality and presentation met in a delightful, flavorful circle that brought families and friends together. Prune whip, or prune pudding. Prune whip, also known as prune pudding, is a fascinating example of mid-century American desserts that combined thrift, nutrition, and a touch of culinary creativity. Popular in the 1940s and 50s, it emerged during a time when home cooks sought to stretch ingredients, reduce waste, and create desserts that were both economical and satisfying. Prunes, long valued for their sweetness and health benefits, became the centerpiece of this surprisingly elegant dish, transforming simple pantry staples into a light, airy dessert that could grace both weekday tables and special occasions. The preparation of prune whip was deceptively simple, yet it produced an impressive result. Prunes were stewed until soft and then pureed or chopped finely, often sweetened lightly and flavored with vanilla or a hint of lemon to balance the deep richness. The puree was then combined with beaten egg whites, which were folded in to create a light soufflé-like texture. The mixture was baked or steamed gently until it puffed and set, resulting in a delicate, airy pudding that was both tender and subtly sweet. Some variations included a dusting of powdered sugar or a drizzle of cream before serving. Adding a final touch of elegance, prune whip was more than just a dessert. It symbolized mid-century ingenuity and resourcefulness. It provided a sweet treat that could stretch prunes, a modest ingredient, into a dish that felt special and sophisticated. Families served it at holiday dinners, potlucks, or Sunday lunches, delighting children with its surprising texture and adults with its nuanced flavor. Today, prune whip may seem unusual to modern palates, overshadowed by chocolate-laden or fruit-laden desserts, but it endures as a nostalgic reminder of an era when home cooks combined practicality with creativity. Its delicate sweetness and airy texture capture the essence of mid-century baking. Economical, inventive, and designed to nourish both body and spirit. Wacky cake, eggless, milkless, butterless. Wacky cake, sometimes called depression cake, is a marvel of mid-century ingenuity, a dessert born out of necessity and elevated into a beloved classic. Emerging during the Great Depression and persisting through rationing in World War II, this cake was designed to be made without eggs, milk, or butter. Ingredients that were often scarce or too expensive for struggling families. Yet despite its austere list of components, Wacky Cake delivered a tender, chocolatey treat that could satisfy a sweet tooth and provide comfort in lean times. The recipe relied on pantry staples that most households would have on hand: flour, sugar, cocoa powder, baking soda, salt, oil, and water. These simple ingredients were mixed directly in the baking pan, minimizing cleanup and effort, and then baked until the cake rose light and fluffy. The absence of eggs and dairy did not compromise flavor or texture. The cake emerged moist and tender, with a rich, chocolatey taste that was surprisingly satisfying. Some cooks added a splash of vinegar to react with the baking soda, creating a lift that mimicked the structure eggs would normally provide. Frosting was optional, often a simple glaze or powdered sugar dusting sufficed, letting the cake shine for its practicality and flavor, rather than elaborate decoration. Wacky Cake was more than just a clever solution to scarcity. It became a symbol of resilience and creativity in the kitchen. Families could enjoy a homemade dessert despite economic hardship, and the recipe became a rite of passage for many home bakers, learning to make do with what they had. Today, Wacky Cake endures as a nostalgic reminder of mid-century frugality and innovation. Its simplicity, accessibility, and surprisingly delicious results capture the spirit of a time when resourcefulness was essential, showing that even the most wacky ingredients, when combined thoughtfully, can produce something comforting, memorable, and entirely satisfying. Homemade custard with nutmeg. Homemade custard with nutmeg is a timeless example of mid-century comfort cooking, a dessert that evokes the warmth and simplicity of family kitchens in the 1940s and 50s. Long before the convenience of instant puddings or boxed mixes, custard was a way for home cooks to create a creamy, comforting dessert using minimal, accessible ingredients. Its gentle texture, delicate flavor, and aromatic hint of nutmeg made it a favorite for both children and adults, ideal for ending a weeknight dinner or gracing the table at Sunday gatherings. The preparation of homemade custard was deceptively simple, yet required care and attention. Milk was gently heated with a pinch of salt and a sprinkle of nutmeg, infusing the liquid with warmth and aroma. Meanwhile, egg yolks were whisked with sugar until smooth, then tempered with a small amount of the warm milk to prevent curdling. Slowly combining the eggs with the remaining milk and cooking over low heat created a smooth, velvety custard that thickened just enough to coat the back of a spoon. Some cooks added a splash of vanilla for extra depth, while others enjoyed the subtle, pure flavor of egg, milk, and nutmeg alone. Homemade custard with nutmeg was more than just a dessert. It represented patience, care, and the quiet satisfaction of creating something nourishing from simple ingredients. Families often served it with a dusting of additional nutmeg, or alongside baked fruits, pies, or tarts, making it versatile and adaptable. Its creamy texture and gentle sweetness provided comfort during difficult times, showcasing the ingenuity of home cooks who could transform humble staples into something elegant and memorable. Today, while custards may be overshadowed by rich cakes or modern puddings, homemade custard with nutmeg endures as a nostalgic reminder of mid-century cooking. Simple, comforting, and crafted with care. A dish that warms both the heart and the palate. If these retro classics brought a smile, sparked a memory, or inspired you to try one in your own kitchen, don't forget to like and share this video with friends who appreciate the charm of vintage cooking. And for more dives into forgotten recipes, culinary history, and the stories behind the meals that shaped American families, hit that subscribe button.